Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel. Sheila feeds Luna's dangerous obsession with Will, and Lee lays down the law. Sheila arrives at Lee's residence to check on Luna. Lee discusses providing her a new life, while Sheila and Luna share intimate glances. When Sheila offers to fetch Luna a pizza, Lee urges her to be cautious. No one can know Luna is alive until they understand what they're dealing with. In Forrester's design office, Ivy informs Electra that her boyfriend will have a big day today. Will and another intern, Tony, are having lunch with Brooke and Katie, who reveal that this is more of a celebration than a meeting. Brooke informs the young ones that they are being promoted and are no longer interns. Tony will crew B and B. Electra is overjoyed with her man's advancement and eager to congratulate him. Returning to the theme of the week, Electra assures her aunt that Will understands her desire to wait before having sex. There's no doubt that he's the appropriate person for her. In PSA mode, Ivy hopes that more young ladies listen to themselves the way Electra did. Electra fantasizes of having a beautiful and romantic first encounter. Ivy Electra BB. More. Don Diamant releases photographs of new sets. Meanwhile, Sheila arrives at Il Giardino and listens as Brooke informs Deacon about Will's promotion. Katie clucks, saying she couldn't be more proud of her son. Deacon offers to locate some sparkling water, and Will jokes about what Bill will think. Katie believes that after nearly losing Liam, he will be a more supportive father. Will hope that things will calm down presently. Brooke and Katie thank God that Luna will no longer be a concern. Sheila bed and breakfast. More. When will Matthew Atkinson return? Sheila rolls her eyes when Will says he can't wait to tell Electra. She becomes excited when Katie suggests they host a party and brings it up with Deacon. Sheila approaches her husband to corroborate what she overheard at the bar, then trots off with her pizza. Will Luna listen to Lee? Luna debates whether to address Lee as Aunt Lee or Grandma Lee when she visits her. Finn's mother doesn't mind what she calls her. Luna inquires about her perceived attractiveness. Lee tells her she's gorgeous, something she already knows. Seeing the wheels churning, Lee advises, stop thinking about boys. Especially Will Spencer. Lee B&B. Undaunted and smiling, Luna tells Will how hot he is and advises her to chill. Lee fumes that she risked all for her. You will do what I say, is that clear? She rants that Luna is beginning to sound like her mother. She must focus on redemption. Lee did not put everything on the line only for lads. New tagline, especially over Will Spencer. More. B&B star teases a Thope reunion. Lee assures Luna that she would be her drill sergeant from now on. She will reform her and ensure that she does not end up like her mother. Sheila walks in and feels the tension. Lee leaves to take a phone call, and Luna complains to Sheila, who informs her about Will's promotion and the party arrangements at Il Giardino. Luna grins, mischievously. Luna B&B. Is Electra ready? At Forrester, Electra congratulates Will and Brooke, and Katie informs her and Ivy about the upcoming celebration. Once Electra and Will are alone, they kiss passionately. He believes the celebration will be a wonderful experience for both of them. She says seductively, could be. Is Sheila up to her old tricks? The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Friday, August 15th, 2025, reveal Sheila's desire to do whatever to make her grandchild happy. The bold and the beautiful spoilers. Luna is still Luna. Luna Nozawa is still obsessed with Will Spencer, despite the fact that she has shot people and been shot. In fact, he is all she can think about while recovering in Lee Finnegan's hotel room. Lee and Luna do not appear to be as close as Sheila Carter and Luna, so Luna confides in the grandmother she knows best. Sheila knows Luna is captivated with Will, but she discouraged her from pursuing him when she learned Will isn't really into her. Will is obsessed with Electra Forrester and has stopped thinking about Luna, save to express his relief that she is no longer alive. Of course, she is not dead, so Will and Electra might be in for a big surprise sooner rather than later, so they should watch their backs. Read this. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers. Liam and Thomas's rivalry resurfaces. Is hope at the center of fierce feud? Sheila's big plan. When Katie Logan drops into Il Giardino to prepare a party for Will, Sheila overhears Katie's talk with Deacon Sharp, and her mind begins to work. Can she take advantage of this party? Maybe it's a method for Luna to finally get Will. Should Luna make a debut at this party? If Sheila intends to do this, she must ensure that the cops do not arrest Luna the moment they learn she is alive. What threads can Sheila pull to make this happen? A few years ago, Deacon was successful in getting Sheila released from jail. Can he do it again? Would he even want to, given his thoughts over Luna murdering his two closest friends? Sheila will have to be careful if she wants to pull this off, but she is determined to make things up to Luna as best she can. Taylor turns up the heat on Ridge, and Nick's proposal to Brooke falls flat. According to The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, Nick Marone is upset and sorry. Despite his demeanor, he presented that big gemstone to Brooke Logan. Her rejection of his engagement offer occurred in Los Angeles, California. But would Brooke still be wearing that ring if she hadn't been foolishly laying on the back of Nick's yacht in Italy? A reasonable response to the preceding question is probably. An alternative tale result in which Brooke flaunts the huge rock Nick wanted her to wear will undoubtedly elicit strong reactions. But it was not meant to be, and it may never happen. Could Brooke Logan still marry Nick Marone? Brooke adores Ridge Forrester more than any other man on the earth. Nick might come in second. However, the distance between the paternal brothers is more than the distance that many individuals previously traveled when returning home from Europe. Marrying Nick would represent a significant leap. Brooke believes Ridge's mind has been properly reset as a result of his dramatic rescue of her. However, he will need to entirely disengage from his engagement to Taylor Hayes, which will not be easy. However, he has told Brooke that he will put things right. Taylor Hayes isn't prepared to lose. Taylor's desperation was evident. Asking Ridge to marry her was a ploy against Brooke. She understands Ridge is still sensitive to Brooke's presence. Taylor also believes that until she and Ridge get married during the day, Brooke will have another chance to take him away. The broken heart syndrome that accompanied Bootig's recast character's return to L.A. was severe. Taylor may have died, but he did not. So it will be fascinating to watch if that health issue is exploited when the Brooke danger reappears for real, as well as Ridge's admission or confirmation of that renewed link. Ridge Forrester is motivated by his brother. Ridge and Nick aren't close. They despise one another and refuse to consider themselves family. Ridge's family includes both Brooke and Taylor. Seeing Nick back in L.A. sparked a fire in Ridge, which Brooke needed because he had faded away and was about to remarry Taylor. However, Eric Forrester stood out as a clear voice. He went on to inform his adopted son that Nick was not the man for Brooke and that she was the only woman Ridge loved. Nick's return proved to be vital to Ridge, recognizing that the woman he should be with is Brooke, and that whatever feelings he has for Taylor don't and likely will never match what his Logan represents. At Lee's place, the tension crackled like static electricity as Sheila Carter, of all people, casually strolled in with her faux domestic warmth, balancing a takeout pizza box like she was any ordinary grandmother instead of the most notorious criminal in Los Angeles history. And while Finnegan's instincts screamed to slam the door in her face, she tolerated Sheila's presence only because of Luna Nozoa, the unstable, smoldering young woman who sat curled on the sofa with her knees drawn up, watching the two matriarchs silently duel for control over her soul. Because in Lee's mind, she had saved Luna from the brink of destruction by faking her death and tucking her away in secrecy, convinced that structured rehabilitation and brutal discipline could rewire her dangerous impulses, while Sheila, beaming with that wolfish pride only she could muster, saw in Luna not a project to be managed, but a mirror image of herself, a girl born of chaos, craving power, needing only the right push to become unstoppable. Lee sternly reminded Sheila that no one can know Luna's alive until we know what we're dealing with. Her voice clipped and surgical. Yet Luna's eyes darted hungrily toward the pizza box, as though the offering was a lifeline to normalcy. But when Sheila leaned close and murmured that Spencer had just been promoted from intern to junior associate at Spencer Publications, the air shifted instantly, because the mention of Will lit a fire behind Luna's pupils that no lecture could extinguish. And despite Lee's furious warning that romance, especially over Will Spencer, would undo all her sacrifices, Luna grinned with the kind of reckless delight that screamed obsession, teasing about how hot he was and asking Lee if she thought she was pretty, a manipulative fishing expedition that left Lee bristling with disgust and spitting out that beauty meant nothing if it was wasted on weakness. But Sheila swooped in with a velvet glove, brushing Luna's hair back and purring that of course she was beautiful. Of course Will would notice her, planting seeds of entitlement that undercut Lee's every effort at discipline. Meanwhile, across town at Forrester Creations, the mood was lighter as Ivy Forrester counseled Electra about her relationship, cheerleading her decision to wait until marriage, turning the conversation into a PSA about self-respect, while Electra beamed with doe-eyed certainty that Will was the right guy, her idealism spilling into fantasies of her first time being romantic and perfect, an innocence that the audience knows is set up for tragedy given the sharks circling just outside her field of vision, because at that exact moment in Il Giardino, Will Spencer was clinking glasses with his fellow intern Tony over sparkling water, while Brooke Logan and Katie Logan announced their promotions, Katie proudly framing it as a celebration, not a meeting, Brooke declaring that both young people had bright futures, and Deacon Sharp wandering over with playful banter, unaware that lurking just yards away was Sheila Carter, eavesdropping shamelessly from the bar and rolling her eyes at every word of praise heaped on Will, her ears perking like a predator's at the mention of a promotion party. Later, back at Lee's hidden safe house, Luna pouted about whether she should call Lee aunt or grandma, a question dripping with mockery that Lee batted away with irritation, saying it didn't matter. What mattered was redemption, discipline, order. But Luna's restless energy betrayed her, her fixation on Will overriding all else, her thoughts flickering back to the way his smile curved when he'd once passed her in the Forrester hallways, her voice dropping into a dreamy haze as she muttered that he'd look so good in a tux at her side, while he snapped like a whip, warning her to stop thinking about boys, spitting out that she hadn't risked her career, her reputation, and her oath as a physician just to watch Luna spiral into another Sheila in training. But as Lee stormed off to take a hospital call, Sheila filled the void by whispering sweet poison into Luna's ear, painting Will not as off-limits, but as destiny, telling her that Electra Forrester had stolen what should have been hers, assuring her that the upcoming promotion party could be the perfect venue for her grand re-entry into society, a debut no one could ignore. And when Luna's lips curled into a wicked smile, it became clear that Lee's drill sergeant strategy was no match for Sheila's seductive encouragement. Elsewhere, Electra was celebrating Will's good news with a tender kiss in the design office, whispering that maybe the party could be a memorable night for both of them, suggesting she might finally be ready to cross the threshold of intimacy, a moment of hopeful foreshadowing that the soap gods will almost certainly twist into tragedy, because what she doesn't know is that Sheila has already set the wheels in motion for Luna's dangerous comeback, debating whether Deacon could once again be manipulated into helping cover her tracks, remembering how he had once engineered her miraculous survival, and wondering if his residual guilt might outweigh his horror at Luna's crimes. And as Katie Logan naively chirped to Brooke that she was glad the Luna problem was finally behind them, Sheila smirked knowingly over her untouched pizza slice, already envisioning the chaos to come, because if Lee's law was stay hidden, stay silent, Sheila's law was the opposite. Take what you want, no matter who bleeds. And with Luna's obsession sharpening by the hour, Will and Electra's innocent love story was about to become the bullseye in a twisted game orchestrated by two of the most dangerous women the bold and the beautiful has ever unleashed. The night of the party at Il Giardino arrived with the kind of glittering fanfare that would make any social media influencer weep with envy. The sprawling open-air terrace bathed in golden light, the gentle strumming of a live acoustic band weaving through the murmur of conversations, yet beneath the polished veneer of celebration. The air throbbed with quiet trepidation as Sheila Carter, armed with insider knowledge and a devilish sense of timing, maneuvered Luna through the back entrance, ensuring that no one, not Brooke Logan, not Katie, not Deacon, nor even a nosy paparazzo, glimpsed her arrival, because Sheila understood the stakes. If Luna was exposed prematurely, Lee's painstaking cover-up would unravel, and the carefully constructed chaos she had in mind would be lost before it even began. Meanwhile, Will Spencer, dressed in a tailored navy blazer and crisp white shirt, laughed and joked with Tony, Electra, and other rising stars of Forrester Creations, oblivious to the storm creeping toward him. As Electra floated between guests, cheeks flushed with pride and excitement, internally rehearsing her congratulatory lines for her boyfriend, imagining a perfect, uninterrupted evening of romance and celebration, completely unaware that Luna, silently guided by Sheila to the edge of the terrace, was observing him with a predatory intensity that made even seasoned onlookers uneasy, her pulse racing with each movement he made, each laugh he shared, each clink of his glass against Tony's in celebratory cheer, because in Luna's mind, nothing else existed but him and the notion that tonight could be the night she finally wormed her way into his orbit. Lee, stationed in a shadowed corner of the venue under the guise of checking on hotel logistics, scanned the room with surgical precision, her instincts flaring as she sensed a disturbance in the balance. But she was temporarily distracted by a whispered call on her phone that pulled her away just long enough for Sheila to murmur to Luna that the stage was set, that all she had to do was smile, mingle, and wait for Will's attention to naturally gravitate toward her. A subtle manipulation that ignited a dangerous gleam in Luna's eye as Brooke Logan and Katie Logan moved through. The crowd, congratulating attendees and basking in the warmth of familial pride, Sheila sidled past them with a casual elegance that belied the storm she was carrying, offering small nods and pleasantries to Deacon while internally tallying her next moves, because every minute that Will remained unaware of Luna's presence increased the suspense and the potential for maximum emotional impact. And as the night progressed, music swelled, champagne glasses sparkled, and Electra found herself laughing at one of Will's jokes, squeezing his hand gently, completely unaware that from the opposite side of the terrace, Luna had stepped out of the shadows, her designer heels clicking softly against the marble floor, and at each step she took sent a ripple of tension through the air as Sheila's encouraging smile kept her bold, coaxing her to finally confront the object of her obsession. Will, in mid-story about a client presentation, felt a sudden prickle at the base of his neck, an almost imperceptible sensation that someone was watching him too intensely, but he shook it off, attributing it to nerves or the bustle of the party, while Electra, still lost in the moment of celebration, tightened her grip on his arm, blissfully ignorant of the lethal mixture of charisma, insanity, and familial cunning converging on her boyfriend. And just as Brooke Logan raised a toast to celebrate his promotion, Luna's eyes locked on Will, her body subtly angling toward him, her pulse quickening, a cocktail of anticipation and dangerous obsession making her hands tremble ever so slightly, while Sheila, now strategically positioned behind a decorative partition, whispered tactical advice into Luna's ear, reminding her that tonight was about subtlety first, escalation second, and that Will's gaze would find her naturally if she played her cards right, and that the world would witness a moment of pure shock when Luna's presence was finally revealed, because Sheila knew that drama wasn't about the immediate, it was about timing, suspense, and the perfect psychological crescendo. As Will laughed at a joke from Tony, a sudden shift in the room's energy caused him to glance toward the terrace's far end, and for a brief instant, Luna's gaze met his, though he perceived it as a fleeting reflection in a glass, an anomaly of light, unaware that this was the beginning of a series of events that would unravel every assumption he held about safety, loyalty, and the boundaries of obsession, while Electra, noticing his slight distraction, leaned closer and whispered, Everything okay? Causing Will to force a smile, nodding, and internally chiding himself for letting a momentary unease penetrate his bubble of celebration. Blissfully unaware that Sheila, now moving with the precision of a seasoned predator, had positioned Luna in the service corridor, giving her the perfect vantage point to make an entrance at the exact emotional apex of the party. And as Katie Logan excitedly directed staff to prepare the celebratory cake, the tension among the adults thickened subtly but perceptibly, because Sheila's plan was not merely to reveal Luna, it was to orchestrate a slow-burn psychological infiltration, ensuring that Will's defenses would falter in the presence of a girl he believed long gone, a girl whose existence had been a secret weapon against his happiness with Electra. And as the live band's music swelled into a crescendo, Luna, guided by Sheila's hand on her shoulder, stepped into the main room with casual elegance, her entrance subtle yet calculated, drawing the eyes of several guests who sensed something uncanny in her appearance, while Will, turning slightly to respond to a colleague, caught a glimpse of her smile, the recognition instantaneous, visceral, and utterly confounding. And in that moment the air shifted, Electra sensing the sudden weight in Will's gaze, confusion knitting her brow, and a shiver of foreboding coursing through her as the first seeds of doubt and fear took root, because Luna's calculated poise, the subtle flash of a designer bracelet on her wrist, the glint of recognition in her eyes, and the faint curl of a smirk spoke volumes to anyone trained to read the room, signaling that the girl will believe Dead was alive, present, and ready to claim his attention by any means necessary. The next minutes unfolded like a masterclass in soap operatic tension. Sheila maintained her peripheral presence, subtly moving among the staff, providing Luna with whispered cues, a nod here, a tilt of her head. There, while Lee, having been called to the kitchen under some pretext, sensed the ripple of chaos and cursed under her breath, realizing that the game she had sought to control was now in the hands of a woman whose expertise lay in manipulation, obsession, and narrative disruption. Will, caught between the comforting solidity of Electra's hand and the magnetic pull of Luna's gaze, felt a torrent of emotions, confusion, alarm, and an adrenaline spike that his rational mind struggled to reconcile with the ecstatic celebration surrounding him, while Electra, initially brushing off the strange sensation as a trick of lighting or coincidence, began to feel a cold ripple of anxiety, the unshakable sense that her hard-won evening of joy and romance was teetering on the precipice of calamity. And as Sheila's plan began to unfold, with Luna navigating the crowd in a perfect blend of charm and calculated allure, the party became a pressure cooker of unspoken threats, subtle signals, and impending revelations, because Sheila understood better than anyone that drama was not about the shout, the chase, or the overt confrontation. It was about the moments in which the unsuspecting target, in this case Will and Electra, felt the faintest shift in equilibrium, the subtlest intrusion into their perceived reality, which would later blossom into a full-blown revelation, heartbreak, or catastrophic emotional collapse. And as the music swelled and the golden light of Il Giardino bathed the terrace, Luna inched closer, her pulse racing with obsessive glee, her mind calculating every word, every gesture, every glance, while Sheila, watching from her hidden perch, smiled with the confidence of someone who had mastered decades of chaos, manipulation, and the exploitation of human weakness, knowing that by the time the next champagne toast was delivered, the balance of power, affection, and control at the party would have irrevocably shifted, because in the bold and the beautiful, timing, psychological warfare, and legacy obsession were always the currency of high-stakes drama. And with Luna finally in place, electrifying the air around Will, Electra's heart pounding, and the unassuming guests oblivious to the danger threading its way through the room, the stage was set for a night that would be remembered as both a celebration and the beginning of an emotional reckoning, a collision of past sins, present obsessions, and the inevitable chaos that Sheila Carter and her granddaughter Luna Nozoa were poised to unleash on an unsuspecting Spencer and Forrester family, a collision that would challenge loyalty, test love, and redefine what anyone present believed to be safe, predictable, or permanent in the golden glow of Aiel Giardino.